Representative Srinivasan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman Fleischman, Boucher, and Ranking Member Gail Laviol, and the distinguished members of the Education Committee. I'm glad to be here this afternoon. And I'm going to be just briefly introducing two concepts that I'm in strong support of. And on either side of me are experts, people who know a lot more on the subject matter than I do. And I'm going to yield my time, with your kind permission, to them. I am in strong support of House Bill 5340, an act concerning a study of education savings accounts. And with me on my right is Jonathan Boucher from the Center of Education Policy from the Heritage Foundation. And I would like him to say a few words on this bill, with your kind permission. And the other bill that I would be in strong support of is Senate Bill 359, which you've heard quite a bit this morning into the afternoon, prohibiting the disaggregation of student data by ethnic subgroups. And for that is the professor from Pace University, Vinhua New, on my left. She will be using the rest of that time to comment on that, with your permission. Thank you.
Distinguished member of Education Committee, my name is Wei Hua Niu. I'm a resident of Connecticut for 20 years and also professor at Pace University. Data disaggregation should never be used in politics and procedures. Asking children to check boxes about country or origin and language dialogue of their ancestry, in addition to race and ethnicity, reinforce group differences, create division, and also harbor unnecessary hostility among groups. It encouraged the thinking that people are fundamentally different from each other simply because they have parents and grandparents from different parts of the world. Therefore, they ought to be treated differently, regardless of what generation of Americans they are. If our school practiced the thinking, asking children from an early age to always think that they need to remember and report national origins of their ancestries, we are raising a generation of Americans to have a stronger bias against odd groups, also known as implicit attitude. What we should do instead is to de-emphasize group differences, build trust and empathy among people from different groups, and be mindful of our own and other people's implicit attitude. Just like separation can never be equal, desegregation cannot achieve fairness, but to create more social disparity. I would also want to point out data desegregation harms health and psychological well-being of children, especially non-white teenagers, of young adults. It is well documented when emphasizing race and ethnicity is subtle language such as where your parents from and where your ancestors coming from make people of color more likely to be conceived as less American than whites, regardless what generations of American they are. To defend themselves, the people of color often experience anxieties, diverting attention to their daily life, experience stereotype threat. Should I continue?
If you could try and summarize your,
yes.
your concluding
And
points.
really, this is a lot of data from CDC website to show the racial differences on mental health issues, and I also have some students' testimonies to demonstrate those languages is very subtle, but has a fundamental impact on their well-being. Thank you.
Thank you for that very thoughtful and well-informed testimony. Are there questions from members of the committee? Representative McGee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative, guests, thank you so much for being here. I also like to thank each and every one of the students that have presented their thoughts on various pieces of legislation, but one in particular, Raise Bill 359, an act prohibiting the disaggregation of student data by ethnic subgroups in the public school information system. I don't necessarily have a question. I have more of a comment. And I actually wrote it out because I wanted to make sure that the sentiments of my thoughts are conveyed clearly and concisely. So identifying race equity problems in any policy can be challenging without the proper collection or use of data. Without data, you'll never know the specifics of the problem or develop the necessary steps to make any changes. We live in a state of Connecticut, filled with racial and ethnic inequalities in education, corrections, housing, health, environment, and we know this because disaggregated data has proved this and challenged us to change this course. So I believe it's extremely important to inform whatever measures we take by data. It's very important. And so I just leave that for all of us to think about and to really, really consider my sentiments on this issue. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Can I take this question? Actually, this is a comment. I totally agree that research-based data is very important. I agree with what you said, but we have to be very careful not to use the data in the policy and procedure, because for research data, often you have confidentiality protected, whereas for the school administration, there's no such protection. So we need to be careful. I agree with you. This data is important.